They called her the luckiest woman in Enugu until the day her story became a warning for every woman who ever loved too deeply. In the city of Enugu, there lived a woman named Chioma. She was in her early 30s, beautiful, graceful, and intelligent. Chioma came from a respected family that owned a chain of supermarkets across Enugu and its surrounding towns. Her father had built the business from the scratch, and when he retired, Chioma took over the management with passion and skill. Under her leadership, the family's business grew even bigger. Everyone admired her for her discipline, humility, and brilliance. She was the kind of woman who entered the room and commanded respect without raising her voice. Her workers loved her because she treated them like family. But behind the calm smile was a quiet loneliness. Chioma had everything: wealth, comfort, and a good name, but she didn't have love. Suitors came in from all the corners of the town in different shapes and forms. Some were businessmen who wanted to make fortunes. Some were pastors who claimed God showed them to her. Others were family friends who wanted her for her influence, but none touched her heart. She wanted someone who loved her for who she was and not for what she owned. Her mother often said, "Chioma, you're not getting younger. Love doesn't always come perfect. Sometimes you have to bend." Chioma would smile and answer softly, "Mama, I want a man I can laugh with, not one I have to impress every day." One afternoon, Chioma's car broke down on her way back from one of the supermarkets in New Haven. The mechanic she called delayed, so she decided to take a taxi home. Then she met Nnamdi. He was a taxi driver and he stopped in front of her. He was tall, dark, handsome, with a charming smile. His white shirt was neat and well ironed, and his cologne filled the car with a warm scent. As they drove through Enugu streets, they talked like old friends. Nnamdi was funny, confident, and full of stories about life. Chioma found herself laughing, something she hadn't done freely in months. When she reached home, she paid him and thanked him. Nnamdi smiled and said, "I don't usually meet customers like you. You are different." She laughed and waved. "Maybe we'll meet again someday." He replied, "If fate wants, we will." And fate truly wanted. 2 months later, Chioma attended the wedding ceremony of a close friend at a hotel in Enugu. The music was lively and the hall was filled with joy. As she looked around, her eyes caught a familiar face. Nnamdi. He wasn't in uniform this time. He wore a simple native attire and looked even more handsome. They smiled at each other across the room. When he walked up to her, he bowed slightly. "Madam Taxi Passenger, we meet again." Chioma laughed. "Mr. Taxi Driver, what are the odds?" They spent the rest of the wedding talking and laughing like old friends. They discovered they shared similar values about life. Chioma liked how real he was. He didn't try to impress her with fake stories or big talk. He was humble, honest, and full of warmth. That day was the beginning of a friendship that would later turn into love. When people found out Chioma was dating a taxi driver, many were shocked. Some of her friends warned her. They said, "Chioma, be careful. Men like that only want your money." But Chioma didn't care. She saw something in Nnamdi. He was hardworking and he made her laugh. For the first time, she felt alive. Nnamdi, on his part, treated her like a queen. He was caring, attentive, and always around her. Months later, he proposed to her in a quiet garden. It wasn't a fancy proposal, but it was full of serenity. Chioma, he said, holding her hands, I may not have much, but I promise to love you with everything I have. Chioma's eyes filled with tears. She said yes. When the news broke that Chioma, the respected businesswoman in Enugu, was getting married to a taxi driver, the entire city buzzed with gossip. Social media went wild. Some praised her for her humility, while others mocked her choice. But Chioma did not mind. Her wedding day was grand. The hall glittered with lights and the air was filled with laughter. Nnamdi looked proud and handsome in his suit, while Chioma looked like a goddess in her lace gown. During the speech at the reception, Nnamdi said something strange. He smiled at the crowd and said, Today I make a promise. I will not only be Chioma's husband, I will be her number one stressor. I will be her protector, her business partner, and her destiny. And everything she has, I have too. The audience laughed, thinking it was a joke. Chioma smiled awkwardly, brushing it off. But deep down, those words stayed in her heart. It was the beginning of what would later become a storm. The first months of marriage were beautiful. They lived in a lovely duplex Chioma had owned before marriage. Chioma continued managing her family's supermarkets, and Nnamdi started helping her with errands. He said he wanted to learn business from her. He became the charming husband everyone admired. On social media, they were the perfect couple, always smiling, always traveling, and doing things together. People used them as an example of love without class. But behind those photos, small cracks were forming. Chioma started noticing changes. Nnamdi stayed up late at night, always chatting on his phone. Sometimes he left home and returned very late or not at all. When she asked questions, he always had an excuse. Babe, I was helping a friend, he would say. Or, I was working on a surprise for you. Abi, you don't want to be surprised. At first, she believed him. But after a while, the excuses became too many. Another thing that bothered her was how Nnamdi suddenly became interested in her family business. He started suggesting changes and even asked her to make him a major shareholder. After all, he said, I'm your husband now. What's yours is mine. Chioma smiled politely. Give me some time, Nnamdi. It's a family business. I just can't change ownership like that. His face hardened for a second, but he quickly covered it with a smile. No problem, babe. I trust you. But deep down, she sensed something cold behind his charming face. One day, Chioma sat in her office troubled with her best friend Ngozi. Ngozi asked, Chioma, I've noticed how your mood has been bad of late. What's the problem? Chioma sighed. Ngozi, I don't know what's happening with Nnamdi. He's been acting strange lately. Late night calls, secrets, and always talking about handing over the business to him. Ngozi frowned. Are you sure he's not cheating? Chioma shook her head. I don't want to believe that, oh. He loves me. Ngozi leaned closer. Chioma, sometimes love is not blind, oh. You better find out what's hiding before it's too late. After much persuasion, Ngozi convinced her to check his phone. That night, while Nnamdi was asleep, Chioma quickly took his phone and went through his messages. What she saw broke her heart. There were messages between Nnamdi and a woman named Tina. A woman she knew too well. Tina was the lady who often visited their house, someone Nnamdi introduced as his best friend. Her hands shook as she read their conversations. They had been seeing each other for months, even before the wedding. Tears rolled down her cheeks. Chioma didn't confront Nnamdi. She just couldn't. Instead, she decided to pretend everything was fine. She started writing a journal, pouring her pain into words. Every night, when Nnamdi went out or stayed on his phone, Chioma would write about how much she missed the man she thought she married. She wrote about her fears, her confusion, and her broken heart. To cope, she joined the gym and began focusing on herself. She buried her emotions in work, hoping one day things would get better. But things only got worse. Nnamdi became more demanding. He asked Chioma to buy him a car and a plot of land in his name. He said it was an investment for their future. Chioma agreed, hoping that doing so would make him love her again. But love cannot be bought. Months later, Chioma began to fall sick. Her blood pressure rose dangerously high. Sometimes she was hospitalized for days. Her family noticed the change. She had lost weight, and her once bright smile had faded. Her mother would ask, Chioma, are you truly happy? She would force a smile and say, I'm fine, Mama, just work stress. But her heart knew the truth. Whenever she was sick, Nnamdi never showed care. He mocked her, saying, You are just pretending. You like pity too much. Yet on social media, he continued posting pictures of them with loving captions. Everyone saw a perfect couple. No one saw Chioma's tears. One evening, after a long day at work, Chioma felt an intense pain in her chest. Her breathing became difficult. In panic, she called Nnamdi and told him to quickly take her to the hospital. He came, but told her he needed to stop by the house first to pick up his laptop. Chioma was too weak to argue. As they drove towards the hospital, Chioma's breathing worsened. Her eyes fluttered, her body went cold. By the time they reached the hospital, she had stopped responding. Doctors tried to save her, but it was too late. She was gone. Nnamdi called her family immediately and broke the news. Then, shockingly, he posted on Facebook and Instagram, writing, My heart is broken. I have lost my wife, my everything. Rest in peace, Chioma. People flooded his page with sympathy messages. Everyone mourned the woman they thought had the perfect marriage. But only a few knew the truth. And the truth was about to come out. Thank you, my dear viewers, for watching. Just watch out for part 2.